Broadcasting from Ireland, featuring interviews with some of the biggest names in magic. Welcome to the Deceive Reality Podcast with your hosts, David Peace and Steve Spade.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast, or welcome to the podcast, the most drop an episode whenever we feel like a podcast in the world. It's like we're back for one and then we're gone again. My name is David Peace. I'm joined by my co-host again, Steve Spade. Steve, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. It's gone so bad. Like during the pandemic, it was like, oh, it's great. Look, we've got nothing else to do. But now that the world is busy again, we're just like, fuck, we've no time for nothing.
Yeah, it goes from once a week to once a month to
once a year,
once a quarter. But we have a very special guest with us this time, which is Rich Relish. Rich, how are you doing?
Yeah, really good. Thanks. I'm glad to have brought you out of retimement by the sounds of it.
Yeah, the microphone was getting dusty, so it's it's really good. But yeah, we've been keeping up with stuff with like reviews and stuff on the channel where we can. But yeah, absolutely, it's great to be here. So, we might as well start where we start with every person who's been on this podcast. For those who don't know you, maybe talk about like what sort of magic you like, and also what got you into this weird addiction that we all share.
Yeah, sure. So it was. I've always needed a hobby to entertain me. When I was really young, I had magic kits, but never had the confidence to perform. Even really to parents, I was more interested in methods and things like that. I had the Marvin's magic sets and everything, and then sort of drifted away from it. In my teens, got into dance music a lot, so I was DJing around some clubs and things. And then I always said I didn't want to be the old guy in the clubs, so I got a little bit old. Didn't want to be that person, and just randomly thought of some magic stuff. Googled, found some forums online. It was the Talk Magic forum years ago. Found some magic shops, lurked in the forums, bought some stuff for a while. The classics, I bought Royal Road and Bobo's, and I mean, back then, so this must have been maybe 15 years ago. And I think that a lot of mentalism was out of my price range. I think things were still expensive. They were still keeping the secrets hidden. So it was like sort of mental magic that I got into it. And I think especially when you're performing to friends and family, they know I can't really do the things that I'm pretending I can do. So mental magic sort of fit nicely. And then, just doing that ever since. And then started taking some bookings commercially. So did some wedding fairs, picked up a few weddings, learned a lot very quickly. What works, what doesn't work. Going to that market, and then moved into some residencies. And so all I perform now is close-up mentalism and I suppose bits of mental magic. It's definitely what I preferred. And I found that when you're performing to people who don't know you, you can get them to believe anything. It's really, really good like that. So yeah, I just perform close-up mentalism. So I got a couple of residencies. To be honest, I like performing in bars. I like just pulling up a chair, having 15, 20, 25 minutes sometimes to spend with a table, getting to know them, chat to them a bit, building up sort of the impossibility, the effects then. Whereas I appreciate weddings. I mean, let's be honest, they're well paid. But when you've got like a few minutes for a group, it is quite difficult to connect. And that's when I find it's more like sort of hit and run mentalism. You haven't got the time to get them to invest in things or take them on a journey or something like that. But yeah, so I love my residencies where you just go along, pull up a chair, chat to people, get to know them. And then how I tend to structure my stuff is start with something semi-believable, like a memory test or something. So just get them to buy in and then build an impossibility, because my character is Team Darren rather than Team Max Maven. I don't go down the psychic route. I don't think I can pull it off. I don't think I'd know. And this was something I was going to ask you guys actually. If somebody performs in the psychic route, how would they deal with a miss? Because with the psychological route, it's do you know what? That's really good actually. Yeah, you acted really unusually. Then you're going to be perfect for this. Let's try something else. Yeah. But yet, if I was going down the psychic route, I'm not sure I've got the acting chops to pull that off.
I think psychics miss more than anybody, and they get believed, which is the thing. Because I think it all comes down to the confidence. Because like myself, I'd say myself in the mentalism side, a lot more in the psychological side of things as well. But then I do dip my toes in a bit into like tarot and that side of things, but I still don't. I do tarot readings, but I say this is not psychic. I could do these with pieces of art from the Louvre if I wanted to, and all that sort of stuff, just to try and get it there. So you can. I like doing the psychological performance with the like a cover of mystical props. So the situation to try and get it. But it's an interesting one because a myth. It's like when you're doing like a me versus you type situation of I'm gonna try and get into your head and give me a poker face and all that sort of stuff. You go, if you miss, you're like, great poker face. I want to play poker with you anyway. On to the next person.
Yeah, I once saw a picture put up. I think it was some show or something, and it was a psychic show, and it was like due to unseen circumstances, the show can't go ahead tonight. I was like, well, Joe should have known, you know.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I actually went to a local one of those. So there was a local like shut-eye medium, and I thought, you know what? And I bought a ticket, and I just went and sat there, and it was quite funny how like there was obviously plants who they'd done private reading for us before, and then after a couple of misses, they go to that person who they know. But the way they sort of it's a craft what they do. The way they sort of weave the misses and twist them, and I mean the good ones anyway. The bad ones, it can be pretty bad. But I just thought it's not for me. I think magic and mentalism is deceptive enough as it is. I just don't want to go into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we use the same techniques. It's just we're not telling people we're psychic, you know, or not frauding them out of money and whatever. Well, we are, but not in
They know we're frauding them out of money.
The key is entertainment, isn't it? I think that do you know what I found that actually this might be interesting. So I used to build my thing was it used to be mind reading mentalism and it used to be mind reading entertainment. I used to put on my business cards. And I'd see people taking a wide berth at wedding fairs, and they're like, oh, they didn't. And I changed it to mind reading magic. And it's just that tiny difference. And people are like, oh, cool. So it's a type of magic. And I found that massively changed people's perceptions of it.
Yeah. We were talking about that recently, like mentalists, hypnotists, you know, escape artists, whatever. We're all magicians. And to the lay public, that's what we are. They don't really see it any other different way. You know, and if you're in like, you know, the wrong neck of the woods, they just see you as like a kid's magician, and that's a whole different story altogether because you're trying to brand one thing, but they just see it as, oh, is he going to be wearing a rabbit? Is it going to be a rabbit in a top hat? And is it going to be ribbons and silks and shit? And you're like, no. You know? So like you're up against that a little bit as well in people's perception of it. But I think that's just the way magic has gone since like the 70s. You know, it got softer and softer and softer up until the point of like David Blaine trying to make it kind of edgy again, you know?
Yeah, that's true. And
I find that a lot. Like even like you go up to a group and you're going to perform for them, and it's like I always find you go up to a group like at a wedding and there's kids in the group, and like, oh, the magician, and they're like watching for the kids, and then they're like maybe overreacting to what you're doing because they're doing it for the kids, like as if like a Santa visit type reactions that you're getting, and then you hit them with something and you see them change and going from like, oh my god, the magician for the kids, to what the fuck was that? And it's like you can see that switch in people's heads of like, oh shit, this isn't
something like a pin reveal or something really thing, and they're like, my kids would love this, and they're like, no, they wouldn't. You know?
That's a good point actually. Do you like perform specific tricks for kids, and are they, because I do a couple of mentalism, but I find kids like do well with drawing duplications, and I've got one with a pack of like superhero top trump cards and stuff. So it still fits my character, but I know I can engage kids. How do you guys approach that when you go to kids at a wedding? Do you bust out sponge balls or something, or do you have mentalism routines for them? Or?
Usually have a pile of stuff like kind of just in case, you know, kind of a thing. But yeah, I mean, you can kind of get away with it. I often give them just decks of cards. I say, oh, here, have a deck of cards, and they just like run off. You know, and that's okay too, you know. But yeah, it can be a tricky one. I would imagine it's harder for like a mentalist though, other than like a drawing dupe. You're kind of probably limited enough.
Yeah, because you do visual stuff, like because I do like close up. I do a mixture of magic and mentalism. So I had weddings last weekend, and there was flower girls running around at it. So I had my close-up case with me, which I had black sponge balls in there. So I'm like, if I'm going to do sponge balls, they're going to be black. So I got them out, and I did that I just did a few sponge ball routines on them, and then it was like throughout the night they kept going, come over here and do the thing with the balls again. I was like, I'm doing like a really detailed, like emotional connection routine here. Give me a second. But yeah, here's a sponge ball case in your hand. Cool. Okay, bye. But yeah, it's about that side of things. But I also think like any sort of it's like it depends on the age. Like anything over like 6, I think cards can work on that. Or like even like when they're younger, if I want to do like an ambitious card training or something like that, I just go here, just draw any picture on the card or anything like that and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Or when they're kids and they're in white flower girl dresses, don't give them a Sharpie. You do not give kids a Sharpie in a white dress.
I think card tricks don't work for kids, but card magic does. As in, if you do card stealing or like deck vanish or whatever it might be with the cards, I think that they can gravitate towards that. But if you start doing an actual routine, they won't pay attention.
Yeah, just visual stuff.
Yeah, it's just the level of understanding, isn't it, for how old they are. I know I've seen that Paul Robani's got a good book, which was, I think it's called Mentalism for the Young Minds or something like that, and that's quite interesting. There's some good ideas in there, but that's something I was toying with. Do I take a magic trick for the kids? And I've been quite lucky. The weddings I've done recently, there hasn't been many there, so I haven't had to worry about it. But,
it's a good idea, the superheroes though, or something. They can gravitate toward that, even as like a peak or a drawing dupe or something.
I have the superhero cards that John Morton put out. They have the superhero cards that you can just do, like here, pick your favorite superhero. It's Spider-Man, or Joe, you can do that sort of thing. And because this thing when you're doing mentalism as well, it's very quick reveals when you're doing for younger people. Because like it's a bit creepy to be like to the 8-year-old, look in my eye and like really focus, put pressure hand in my hand. It's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to be like, think of it, say it yourself. Okay, it's that, and just get it. I'm just going to give the reveal quicker, and get it done. Because it's about just having that sort of level. Because they're not interested in it as well. They just want the bang impact of it and that sort of stuff. So I think those sort of things can work as well. But yeah, I tend to. It's that thing of. I've had a call before of someone being like, oh, can you do my kids' party? And I was like, oh, I don't do kids' magic. And like, oh, but they love it. They're old, like they love Dynamo or that sort of stuff. I was like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, like, no, because that's what all the parents, I've fallen for it before. And then I got locked in a room with 20 kids running around high on sugar. So I was just like, eventually I went like, one of my routines is I put a fish hook in my mouth and have them pull on one of the strings. This is not child friendly. And they're like, oh, okay. That's like,
I love fishing.
Yeah, that's why it's important to have like a network of friends and stuff you can pass gigs on to in there. Because I know I'm no kids entertainer. We went a camping trip, and my daughter's nearly 9, and we went with her friends last year, August bank holiday. Oh, do some magic for the kids, and I was like, oh my gosh, and I did. So I bought some stuff, practiced there. It's horrendous. I'm terrified. Like, I
can't do it.
10 or 15 kids, and I was just doing really, really basic stuff. But I feel so much more comfortable, like doing my own stuff. So I was like, right, lesson learned. I tried it. I'm not a kids entertainer. let's get.
It's so hard to entertain kids. Like it's so hard to have that authority over them and get that attention from kids. Yeah. It's like I think it's harder than I think kids magic's harder than adult magic, because it's like you have to first of all get their attention, get the authority over them. I think there's some great stuff in the season 1 of the Matchumentary that Craig and Matt are doing on that channel of him learning to be a kids entertainer. Because I always, whenever I used to do it before, I'd always have a situation where Joe, they'd be reaching into my pockets or that sort of stuff. And you're like, get away. And like, that's because you didn't have the authority to begin with, that they don't respect the boundary of it. And it was quite interesting ways of, and that they shown that the Matchumentary of how to get that structure in it. But I'm also like, because even like when I was first dating my wife, she was like, oh, you should do more kid stuff, it'll probably pay well, there's always birthday parties. And I was like, it's just not me. She's like, magic's magic. And then we're at a wedding, and one of my friends who does kids magic was there, and he was doing a kid show, and I brought her in to watch it. And then afterwards she was like, yeah, you can't do that. I was like, yes, I can't, that's just not me.
yeah, but that's what I mean. All it takes is to see a good kids entertainer, and you're right. I think it's the balance between likability and authority, and that's so difficult. It's
a bit of clowning as well, and that side of thing, and like the acting comes into a lot more of the like, oh, I didn't see the tube coming up and all that sort of stuff. That like you've got to have that like children's entertainer or like the Blue Peter or whatever children's show stuff of like the adult overreacting and stuff like that. And you need to have that sort of personality, and if you don't have it, it's just not going to go. Like the kids aren't going to do it. And like if they're like teenagers, then you can just do your normal stuff at that point. But yeah, it's like especially the really young kids. It's just like it scares me. Don't want.
I can just imagine Dave doing like a Q&A at a crèche or something. wrapping his head in bandages and all that shit.
Yeah. It's just.
So do you change like yours? Because I mean, personally, I don't change my set. Like obviously we've got Christmas run up soon. I don't tend to do any seasonal themed stuff for Halloween or Christmas. I mix different routines in and out, and I've got my core so I know we're a couple of sets. But do you guys do anything special when it comes to the holiday seasons, or?
No, not the holiday seasons. Like I have tricks that I do at weddings for the like I have like a sort of like an anniversary wall thing I'll do to a bride and groom. But I might pull that out just for like a couple at a corporate gig. But yeah, I tend to just keep my stuff pretty simple because I'm like I might get someone to like I might maybe hint at it in a drawing duplication of like, oh, it's Christmas show, think of something seasonal or something like that instead. But I tend not to really. I just do my normal set because you don't want to make a change that you think is small and then you're halfway through the trick and realize, oh, that little suggestion I made now actually makes the trick not work. Oh crap. Yeah, so it's not really I don't think theming. I get there are like there are Christmas tricks and that sort of stuff, but especially with mentalism and stuff, it's very hard to theme stuff. I did do we were talking before this about doing the virtual shows. I did a charity virtual show for my parents' gymnastics club that we did, and I did sort of show where one of the 10 cards is an X on the back of it, or only one of the cards doesn't have an X on the back of it. One of those routines. And I wrote like Christmas tree, Santa, Christmas decoration, mistletoe. So I wrote those out for that sort of thing because it was a Christmas virtual show. So I was like, okay, I'll do something like that there. But yeah, I think I might team stuff more if I was doing stage than close up. What about you, Steve? Do you think would I think stage more?
Christmas, I might just make like a reference to it if I'm on stage, but not really in close up. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't really change my set. Unless there was something that the company wanted me to theme in, that they were giving out a certain thing, or sometimes a corporate or whatever might have like poker chips for drinks or whatever, and then you could tie that in. And like I wasn't going to do a trick with something like that, but now I will. That kind of way. But no, I wouldn't really go out of my way to have like custom like Christmas cards or anything. With that. No.
Yeah,
I
thought so.
Yes, it's a similar way because I think it's the I think it's important sometimes as well to go because sometimes I'm like, oh, I want to not do this trick because I'm sick of it. I'm going to put in something new, and then you get there and you remember all the crazy reactions you got to that trick. Whether it be like ambitious card routine or something that you're just like, oh, I'm so sick of doing this, and then you're like, but people like lose their shit over this thing, and these people like it's like you deserve to give them the best entertainment you can, and if just because you're like a bit bored of it.
No, I've been watching like recently, like David Blaine is doing a lot of PR for his new show in Vegas and a lot of PR for the last show in Vegas, and every TV show he's on, he's doing ambitious card, like every show. So I mean, he's doing it because it's a worker, because it works. You know what I mean, and because it's strong. And it plays big on TV, and it's a deck of cards, and I suppose he's almost known for it in a certain way now that people almost expect it from him. And if he didn't do it, it'd be like, the Rolling Stones not playing like Painted Black or something. And you'd be like, we went to the gig and didn't do Satisfaction or nothing. It was shit, So you want to see the classics in that sense. And like I know magicians are like, oh, ambitious card, 20 phases. But like when it's in Blaine's hands, it looks like real magic.
Yeah. And I suppose like magicians have seen it hundreds, thousands of times, but how often do most people see a close-up magician in their life? Like, maybe most people, maybe one. So you just got to remember that, I suppose, haven't you? And hark back to
definitely,
like exactly like you said, Davis, give them the strongest magic you can. There's a reason why the classics are classics.
Yeah. Definitely. And it's about putting your own twist in it as well. As like other people might see the ambitious card routine, but if the presentation's different, they won't remember it. Because like I had the situation where I was doing a trick last Friday, and I handed the deck to someone and was like, shuffle them up and keep any card. And they're like, oh, I've seen this one before. It's like, I literally asked you to pick a card. Like, this isn't. So it's like people think that there is only one card trick. It's like there's a card trick and that's it. And then I turned back time and fixed the deck. So, she hadn't seen that before. I
use that as part of my pattern. I purposely use cards, but I don't do much with them. I always use a marked deck. I tend to use the DMCs. And part of my patter, I say, is the reason I don't do much with cards is because for most people, the minute you put out a deck of cards, somebody will say, I've seen this one before. So I'm kind of like getting that line in before they have a chance to. So I say, I'll show you this trick, and you definitely haven't seen this one before. And most people haven't seen this. I do like a direct mind reading thing with the cards, but it's like get that in before you give them a chance to say it. But I'm firmly on the why not use playing cards camp.
People know them, and it's like it's easy. It's so much easier as well than like, you know, like I carried the gallery deck with me quite a lot, or some like maybe the snaps and that sort of stuff. And you can have someone. I was in a routine where I had someone pick one or force one, and I was going to read their mind of what image they were thinking of. And I was like, this presentation is so much more boring than if I just forced a playing card on them, or had peeked what playing card they had with it, because I used the Penguin Mark deck a lot. And I was like, when it's a playing card, I can go, if it's red or black, do this, because everybody knows what playing cards are. When it's these, like, I have the gallery deck, I'm like, now some of these are black and white and some of them are picture. And they're like, oh, were they? I didn't notice. And you're like, so if yours was picture, I can't remember. Let me look. And then it's like, now was it man-made? And it's just, you kind of come up with all this stuff that's like, when you're trying to show how you're psychologically reading them, or facial tics and stuff like that. And if you were able to psychologically read someone or body language, if you don't use that to then try and cheat at playing cards, people don't believe you. So it's like, their logical sense is you can read people's minds, you should be gambling. And you're like, I don't use playing cards. It's like, what the fuck?
You're going to get the, I wouldn't play cards with you, you know?
Yeah, that's the classic.
If you play that way, then say you're a mind reader as well, they won't even look you in the eye anymore after that.
Yeah.
Because
whenever somebody says I won't play cards with you, have you seen Chris Congreve's routine Cloak, which is his take on the 10-card poker deal?
I did it for the first time this weekend, like properly back to back at every table, and I was like, this is killer.
Absolutely kills. And it's perfect because it's the poker deal, they're making all the choices. But yeah, when you talk about snaps and stuff, because I know you guys sometimes talk about new products, have you seen the Mosaic deck, the Phil Smith?
That was really interesting.
Don't have it,
So it's sorry, Steve, did you say you haven't seen it?
I know I've seen it, but I don't have it.
Oh yeah, no, I think it's on pre-order yet. But yeah, I've always got such good reactions with snaps and stuff. I thought, you know what, I'm gonna order it. You know, it's a quality product. It's coming from Phil, so you just need a table, and that's what, like I said, performing at the bar. Like I've always got a table. In fact, I just bought a close-up pad because I'm fed up with my card gas getting racked on a pub table. So it does mean I've got to carry a little close-up pad with me, but yeah, it's fine. Worth it for the props, I think, to save them.
Yeah, absolutely. Snaps are great. I did so much snaps during the virtual shows. It was snaps galore. Oh, it was nothing but snaps.
It's like every company name spelled out. Thank you.
Yeah. It's an extra £100 for a custom trick.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, you can really get this. But yeah, I was doing those. I was in Cloak Locks. I do that Paul Gordon 10-card poker deal a lot, as well as playing it. And I always play it as like, now I'm not good at poker because nobody would play cards with me because they're all terrified. So I'm actually really bad because nobody would play with me. And then I do it and I just be like, oh, what did you get? And they're like, oh, I got a pair. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm not sure if mine's any good. And I just put down a royal flush. And I'm like, is that good? I don't know. I don't play poker. And it's just like, you're just like play complete. Because that is true. Like when I was growing up, none of my friends would play cards with me. There was we played one time and I had to sit a meter away from the table with my sleeves rolled up and I wasn't allowed to shuffle. And then I won one hand out of 6 and they're like, you're cheating.
It's lose-lose, isn't it? You either lose, I mean, you're not, even if you don't cheat, it's lose-lose, because if you win, they think you've cheated. And if you don't win, then you've lost. So
I don't cheat until someone accuses me of cheating. And then I'm like, if I'm being accused of cheating, I might as well actually be cheating. So then I said it's cheating a lot.
Or you know, the snaps are great for the 10-card poker deal as well. Especially if you can get somebody's name 5 letters and your own name is only 5 or whatever letters. Like they can spell your name, you spell their name. It's killer. I saw DMC had a version of something like that as well on one of the alphabet cards where he his name and vice versa. Powerful stuff.
You're David and Steve. You're lucky. I got rich. I can't do much for that.
You can do rich or just go rich or. There you go.
You do it when you get a peek and spell it out or whatever. You know, because DMC they have that on the passport, I think it was, or whatever, where he had like them. They spell out their name and then put their hands over them. But sure, he's miles ahead at that stage. But it's so powerful, you know. because you can play the whole you didn't write anything down. I don't know who you're thinking of. Blah blah blah. Great for a social media video or whatever.
Yeah, I got to get better at that. I got to get better because I normally perform it on my own as well. And I think that sometimes when you put a trick on social media, you've kind of burned it. I think it's a bit like comedians with material. So I'm not at the stage where I'm buying tricks just to learn to get them to a standard where I'm happy with the performance, to record it and then stop doing them. But I know that's something I need to get better.
The opposite can happen sometimes too, though. You could put up like a pin reveal or something, and then the next time if someone's seen it, they'll go, "Oh, I saw that video where you read your one's mind. Can you do it with my friend or whatever?" Or I don't believe you can do it in real life, kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah, sure. So it can kind of play both ways, especially with Dave's new thing, the Coda, with the.
I just got that in there.
Kind of I was going to say, if only something workable pin reveal. That's all.
Well, I wasn't
great for.
But I'm doing that one now.
That is a great one that for video actually. She can go. Oh, great. like even when we were over with the 1914 doing the recordings, in all the performances, I used the fact that we were recording it as the justification for using a stack. So I was like, no, I'd usually do this with your real pin code, but as you can see, we're recording here, so I'm just gonna get you to pick one of these, and it like flies by. But you can so do that when you're doing a video, being like, oh, I'm recording something for social media. Now I'm doing something with pin numbers, but I don't want to use your actual pin code. So here, can you pick one of these because we're revealing on camera? And for the sake of this video, just imagine that that's your pin code. And they look at it and go, yeah, you happy? Okay, put it in your pocket. Great. Okay, now so you're just thinking of your pin code. That's when the footage starts. It's like, you're just thinking of your pin code. Is there any way I can know what it is? No, Dave, you're perfect. You just cheat a lot.
And then hope nobody asks to see that trick.
Yeah, exactly. But then if someone's like, oh, can you do the thing where you just read someone's pin code? Yeah, but there's people around, so I don't want to reveal your actual pin code.
Yeah.
But it's like close-up magic in general. If you do something and people misremember it, then the next time they see you, I'm sure that happens in mentalism. Can you do that thing where you knew my mother's maiden name and you knew this and this and this, all the time? It does happen, and people misremember, and you're like, yeah, I don't do that one anymore.
Yes, my favorite two things are like people misremembering things and also taking advantage of coincidences. Because I used to perform, my finale to my close-up set was like a double reveal. It was a drawing duplication and a celebrity name. I had Luca Volpe's The Fox, which lets you pick two cards at the same time. And so two people, I forget if they were best friend or sisters, I can't remember. But one was doing a drawing, and bear in mind this is in a bar on a Friday or Saturday quite late, and the other one did the celebrity. And just by sheer coincidence, the girl had written down Dolly Parton to my right, and the other one had drawn a pair of boobs to my left, and they never saw what each other did. So I picked both these bits of information. I thought, oh, I'm hamming this up. So how long have you known each other? Would you say just
that's crazy. I was doing a comedy show recently, and I was doing Sneak Thief, and two guys from the audience drew Hitler, and as you do, and the two girls in the audience that came up all random drew two cats, and I was like, well, that's weird. And so I'm like, I'm trying to reveal that. I was like, so this is like you're kind of a dominant. This is kind of you, like you kind of drew yourself. Everyone laughed. I was like, you're kind of a domineering kind of person. You're a bit of a dick, and this kind of thing. And I was just playing it like that, and I didn't want to say the name. I was just like, oh, okay, you like hand gestures, whatever. And I just left it off like that, But yeah, weird one. Like you have to take those coincidences, with a pinch of salt. Like, oh yeah, this stuff happens all the time, Yeah.
Yeah. Was that a big group of people to get two Hitlers out of?
It's never happened before. Never. They were in two. They were literally like at the back of the kind of auditorium at the other side. Like they were nowhere near each other. And as they came up, they didn't draw at the same time, and they weren't on stage when they drew. They drew randomly in the audience. So I was like, what is going on? And then I was all
college thing, like it's mad.
So, I mean, they could have drawn anything, but obviously this college is pretty weird if the women just draw cats and the guys just draw Hitlers. I don't know. I don't want to go to college here. Yeah, what the fuck are they teaching kids these days?
It's the guys drew a dick and the women drew a pussy. There you go, chapter.
Oh, there's your closing gap.
You don't need a mentalist for that.
I always find as well with some routines when you're doing mentalism like that, and like there's some of them like where you have to get a peak early, and you don't reveal it till the end of the routine, and then you're like, what the fuck did I peek? Oh shit! I've lost myself in like my presentation. That you're like, can I
You're
get a
drawing
second
like that
peek at that, or can
Banachek, Banachek universal picture of like a
Yeah.
square and a triangle. Yeah, that'll do.
Yeah,
Close
or the animal.
The animal.
Nobody can really make out what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, squiggly. Were you taking this? You weren't? Okay, great. Get off the stage. You know?
Yeah. I suppose that's the problem. Yeah, on the stage is a bigger thing for a miss because, like, if I do a close up, I can deal with a miss right straight into the next routine with the person stood next to them. But yeah, on a stage, it's because nobody thinks a routine's going to finish with a miss, so they're always probably thinking for a magician in trouble ploy, aren't they? But yeah, that must be. Yeah, it must be so much more.
But like they're almost expecting a callback, and if there has been a miss, you could continue on. I guess it never happened now in a drawing dupe or anything where you're kind of like stuck in the water. Because I mean, if you're like it's a house, and then they're like no, and you're like okay, you know what I mean? Like where do you go from there? But I saw somebody once. I won't mention his name because it'd be unfair. But he was using a digital. It wasn't Dave. But he was using a digital pad. And the MC of the show had a digital, an iPad as well. But he left his one down. So the MC had walked off with the one that he was using for peaks. And he was left there just looking at the notes. And I could see him. He literally just guessed all 4 drawings, got all 4 wrong and walked off. Good night. It was a car.
You have to have a backup. Because like I've had situations where I'm doing something and nothing too major. Where it's like, one small bit of it wouldn't work, and you'd be like, "Oh, that's interesting. I think you'll be perfect for this next bit." And then instead of getting a new volunteer up, I use them for this next bit because they think differently, and that way it'll work for them or something. And then people go, "Oh yeah, that always goes wrong because he needs them for the next bit." You know, that's the way you're trying to cover yourself that way.
Yeah, or you need somebody who's a bit more skeptical, and I think because you're throwing me off a little bit, this is perfect. You're great for this, and then whatever.
Yeah, because there's even things as well like with peaks and stuff. Like when you're in close up, you've got to be like doing your little like Astus Novus or Mind Invasion peek, and it's like quick, and you have to get the information and get away from that thing. But on stage, I'm like, and we leave that face up over there, and I'll come back to it whenever I want, and this thing, and it's you can be a lot bolder with stuff because you control the space a lot better. So if you want to just like even like with not to just keep mentioning, but with Coda, when I'm doing close up, you get your peek and then things go away. But like I do it with the end book test, and I just walk over and put the stack face up on the table. So it's always there if you need stuff, you know, because you want to get that sort of situation. But we're talking about some stuff as well. Yeah,
Larry Becker used to do that as well, obviously with like side 7s and like a stacked deck. He would just leave it when he took it back from the audience. He would just leave it face up, so he knew what 5 cards had been taken in order or whatever. I mean, there's no heat in it as far as the audience is concerned. You're putting the deck on the table. The fact that it's face up or down is a deck of cards. Who cares? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's in close up. You'd be a lot more careful of that sort of stuff. On stage, you can do whatever you want.
But it's more when you're not being chased. You know what I mean? There's no heat on you whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, mentioning sidestep is I genuinely think for the Mentalist the best card move ever is the Charlier Shuffle. The amount of times I work with something in stack, and it's just so deceptive, and deliberately sloppy so it looks messy, and
it's even great if you just have a few, like if you have a small set of cards or something like that you just want to keep in some sort of way a smaller thing, because you can really it's so deceptive, because even when I'm doing it I'm like, did I mess that up, or am I actually doing this right? Because I don't get it's like it actually confuses your own brain that like this isn't shuffling the cards. It's even like just cutting cards in a stack is weird. That it's like, oh, this just works. Okay, cool. And you can figure it out from there. But with the sort of like creativity side of things and putting your own spin and stuff, you've got like Compass and Sequence out with the 1914. How did your sort of creativity with coming up with stuff like that come? And maybe when you were like, oh, maybe I'll look at putting this out for the community as well.
So it started. I don't remember ever making a conscious decision to create my own stuff, but it was kind of just like, I think and I wasn't one of these people who, I think maybe more nowadays creators are sort of up on a pedestal and it's like, well, everybody wants to create to put something out. But I genuinely just, through spending time in the hobby, just had some ideas, had some thoughts. And it started, there was like a PDF I put out through Liam Monte's old site is Tricktastic. It's not even there anymore. Then I had an idea with a deck of top trumps cards, and I think what came in handy was I'm not bad with Photoshop, because from the DJing days we were producing our own flyers and stuff, so I was able to mock things up and get things printed out and prototyped. So I did a trick using superhero top trumps that Alakazam put out a while ago called Agility, and that's like mental magic. Then Compass came around because I was, like you said earlier, Sneak Thief. I absolutely love Sneak Thief. I was performing it for ages, and I just had the thought. I wasn't trying to put it out. For anybody who doesn't know, it's a way of you marking. It's a hidden insight marking on the face of a billet, and so I had the idea for the core method, but then it was like, right, okay, so that works as a way of marking the billets, and then I was working backwards. Then, okay, so around the justification, and then okay, cool. I thought this is definitely something to share. So first of all, it was a PDF I self-published and put on library. It was called Juncture. And so I got sent some copies out, and I had some really nice comments from people like Mark Paul, Luch, Scott Creasy. And these are people who I didn't know. I just approached them. And well, in fact, Scott Creasy, I was talking to him in the Minds convention up in Newcastle. I've only been once. It was amazing. I'd recommend it to everybody. And I was talking to him because he works a lot with blank billets. And so I had some really good comments. So I thought, about the core method. I thought that's brilliant. And then I just worked with it over time, built the system out, and I thought that I built the routines out as well. And I thought it was well received by the people who bought it, but I was still an unknown mentalist at that point. And I thought, you know what, this could do with the release. And got in touch with Dee and did the filming for that. Sequence was a weird one. My friend was talking. We were driving to a convention, and one of my friends, Harry Harrington, was talking about a different product that used some ESP symbols, and he said, "Oh, have you heard of this product or this routine?" And he described the effect. And I went, "Oh, does it work like this?" And he said, "No." I was like, "Oh, cool." So I just invented something. Genuinely, within a number of days, then had the prototypes designed, sent them off to get printed, and so sort of accidentally landed on that one. And then, so I've got some other things in the works with some other companies as well. And it's weird that there are certain threads. There's one routine which I love, which isn't a physical product, but it's based around a wishing well. And that's because I thought I loved the idea of making somebody think back to when they were little and finding a coin and putting a wishing well and wish for something. And I was like, rather than just think of anything you can see. And so that was something I come back to over a while. I'm a big note keeper, so I've got lots of like half ideas and started ideas. And then, over time, I personally I took a routine that used a Sven pad, and I was happy with the routine. And then I came up with a handling of a regular pad, which means you don't even need to use a Svengali pad anymore, which means you can have different outcomes at different tables. And so it just got to the point where my close-up set was 90% either my stuff or my presentations on stuff. And so, yes, some of them are just little touches and presentational ideas, which obviously you can't release. Some of them, I think, would make nice physical products. So, they're coming out. It's just always got pen and paper, always got notes. The one sort of challenge which I've set myself, which I haven't started yet, is I thought, how cool would it be to approach a table with 5 billets? And the idea is you do one routine using 5 billets, and at the end of that, 1 gets eliminated. Then you do a routine with the 4, then the 3, then the 2, and finish with the 1. But the challenge then is to make all of the routines sort of engaging enough and different enough to each other, so they're not seeing the same effect every time. So that's, and I just thought I quite like just walking up with 5 billets and a pen and being able to entertain a table for however long that takes. So that's probably a 2024 starting thing, which I'll come back to eventually.
Yeah, that's cool.
That image in your head is great, like, because you want to have that image in your head of like the perfect trick, because that's what I think. Like, there's a lot of stuff, people come up with original stuff and release it, but one of the things I love in lectures are those little just presentational or tweaks to existing routines that like you are more openly talked about in lectures, because it's just like, here's an idea for that sort of stuff. And that's where a lot of like working stuff you really get your tips, because it's like, it's great to have a new routine, but something that makes something you do already 10 times stronger or cleaner or that sort of stuff. That's like the gold that everyone's searching for. It's a pity that like that stuff can't get released, but it's understandable why. But that's where I think in lectures you can really get. Like,
well, this is why, like, the latest development of my wishing well routine, which I haven't told anyone, but I'm happy to share here. So it uses, I don't use the Astus Novus peak. I use Alexander Marsh's billet peak, which is still a quarter of a card. And so I'm thinking, well, I've got 3/4 of a card here, which you either fill with nonsense. I'm like, or you fill. I'm like, I can definitely use that. So for my wishing well trick, the one corner, I say, right, so you've come across it. There's a nice round coin on the floor. You pick it up. What coin is it? And then the likelihood is they're going to say a 1 pence, 2 pence, or a 10 pence over here. So I write that down. Then another corner, right? So that goes in the wishing well. And is it heads or tails up? And I write that down. And then the next one is, okay, so this wishing well, was it inside or outside? And nobody ever says inside. But I say, oh, because it could have been inside in like one of these shopping centres, etc. So you're left in a situation where you've got, it's always going to be outside. It's likely to be a 1, 2, or a 10 pence. And it's either going to be heads or tails. So I've got 6 envelopes in my pocket with 2 with a 1 pence in, 2 with a 2 pence in, 2 with a 10 pence in. And they say outside heads, written on them in Sharpie, outside tails. So at the point when in the bottom corner, they're wishing forever, they're writing it down. I'm just taking that envelope, going in my pocket, pulling out the correct one. And it means that after I've peeked the information in the card, put the card in the envelope, I do the big reveal. And then at the very end, I tip the coin out and it shows all of their choices. So I'm like, why would I not use them? I was like, there's 3 bits of a card there that I can absolutely use. So it's kind of like a verbal force and a multiple out. And so, yeah, it's about tweaking those routines, trying to get every little last bit of mileage out of the stuff that I'm using. So, yeah, that's really new. I've only taken that out a couple of times. But, yeah. And the best thing is, if they say it's a £2 coin, you just don't switch the envelope and you just do the reveal of the wish. So, yes, nailed on.
Yeah. There's a more kind of a jazz magic feel to that, because I think mentalism, especially, the more organic it looks like, the better it is. Like you said, 5 billets and whatever. I've seen Dave just doing a set with like a post-it note and a pen, a packet of post-it notes, and he's killing people with like one ahead and all that stuff, So I mean, the less is more sometimes with mentalism, where I think magicians would probably panic at that station and be like, okay, so what if he says €2? Oh, I'll produce one from behind his ear. They'll think differently. Where a mentalist will go, oh, I'll just do it that way, and I'll just reveal the information. Or go one ahead.
Because I always had that situation before. Like, I now carry more stuff with me just for my own enjoyment. But for a while, I see people with their EDCs. My gigging set was a deck of cards, a few business cards, and a packet of post-it notes, and that's all I brought with me. So I show up to the venue and they'd be like, oh, do you need to set up? And I'm like, I'm good to go. I'm just going to be like,
and that's true, because I gigged a few gigs at that time when you were just doing that. And I was like, yeah, where's your stuff? And he was like, here.
Like, it's a challenge, because like I have, like, you can do hours with cards, but like with post-it notes, it's like you can get them. I might give them a business card to do a drawing on, peek it. I'll reveal on the post-it notes, because that way I'm not wasting business cards for myself with the reveal. But something I do a lot with Astus Novus actually is I write the venue. If it's a corporate event, I write the venue across the top bit. Or if it's a wedding, I go like John and Mary's wedding, and then the date at the bottom. So then if they hold on to it, they'll always be like, oh, that was a John and Mary's wedding on that day. And it's like, it's that logical reason of why you're forcing them into like one specific spot.
But if you ask their name and the date, or their name and the time, you won't believe I can do this in this amount of time, and just write the time. What time is it? You're filling up everything without being, because there's nothing worse when, oh, look, we'll put a 7 here. I draw a 7 with a lot, all the stuff that we saw initially. I'm like, nobody's going to buy that. Like, that's just ridiculous.
That's why I like Mind Invasion by Morgan Strebler. That's like my go-to billet peak. I just do that all the time. It's a full billet peak in like an all piece. It's just like it flies by.
Yeah, I remember when he showed it to you at Lance, and then you just kept doing it like repeatedly, and then by the time you had it nailed, and now that's all you do.
About an hour in the bar, I'm just doing it repeatedly.
It is a good one though. It is very good.
I used that one as a folded peak, and then some of Scott Creasy's work with a banded set of double blank cards if I need a full peak. But I think, going back to what you said, I think something that maybe I concentrate too much on is justification. So it's like, well, why am I doing? It took me so long. I think everyone buys Svengali pads. it took me so long to think of it. I'm like, well, why have I got a pad filled with stuff written in? And the same with digital force pack. I absolutely love it. But I'm like, okay, so there's got to be a routine about why have I got this list on my phone?
Yeah.
Because I think, even though it is the psychological stuff, I still want it to feel justified and feel genuine. I'm not going to say real, but
my justification for a digital force bag is I have this list. I have all these lists on my phone because I'm a magician. I'm a weird. Anyway, let's go ahead. It's like I kind of play up that like I'm odd is like part of my character. Even like when I approach tables, especially if I'm doing like more magic stuff, I'd be saying like I'm here to show you why nobody plays cards with me. It's either my skill with a deck of cards or my personality. I'm not really sure why, but we'll have a vote at the end. And that's how I open like every table. Because it immediately because everyone's like, oh, the arrogant magician's going to come over. And then I immediately undercut myself of like, I'm taking the piss out of myself and thought, fine, it seems to work quite well, but a lot of people. But like getting the wording right took a while, but it's that sort of thing of like, I'm just odd and I do odd things. So I've got a list of 100 things on my phone because why would I not?
Yeah, close-up magic, especially like when it can very quickly, or it can be, right, I'm interrupting that group to show them stuff I can do that they can't.
Yeah.
And like, it's going to be so combative there, isn't it? I think that's why, the approach and your opening lines and your opening effect are so important just to get people on side.
Yeah.
It's about like not taking yourself too seriously, but also not giving up your authority in the situation. It's that balance that like I'm always messing with to try and see like how far can I push it before people stop respecting me. And I'm like, okay, I need to pull it back a bit because especially when you're doing mind reading stuff then and they're like, but like he was an idiot there a minute ago. So it's like it's trying to get that sort of thing of I don't take myself seriously, but also you need to take what I'm going to do seriously. That sort of it was just such a hard balance to get.
But that's the good thing with the residencies, because you can try out new scripting and new routines. By the end of the night, you've done it a dozen times, and then like within one night, you can like start off with a routine and tweak it and script it, and by the end of the night, you either know it's going to work or know it's not going to work, for example. So that's why the residencies.
Someone asked me before, like, how for getting used to approaching groups or like getting practicing a magic. When I used to go socially, one of my opening lines I use all the time, well, I go up to a table and be like, "Hey guys, I'm a magician. I'm working on a new trick, and I just need to know if it's any good. Do you mind if I try it on you?" And then I just do like one of my 1,000 timers that like isn't the new thing that I know is going to hit, but they're immediately on your side. And at the end, they're like, "Yeah, that's actually that's really good. You should do that." I'm like, "Oh, do you mind showing me some? Do you mind if I show you something else?" And then I might try the thing that I want to try or something like that. But it's that thing of coming in, especially in a social situation where you're not like, "Hey guys, I'm going to take over your group now for the next 2 hours." It's like you come in the, "Hey guys, can you help me out? I need to know if this trick is any good or not." And obviously, you're not going to trust your friends and family. You got to go to a stranger, and that worked as a great in for like a long time, until I stopped going out because I got old.
I know. I think I'm sure it's a Michael Murray idea where you go up to a group and ask them if they believe in mind reading, and then whatever they say, you just agree with them. So if they say yeah, then you say, "Oh, brilliant! Let me show you something I can do. This is a skill I can do." And if they say no, say, "No, me, they're charlatans, aren't they? In fact, I've been learning to try and copy what they can do, but it's absolutely not real." And so you just take the lead from what they say, and then they're sort of invested on your side.
You can't beat them, join them. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Good theory.
Well,
good theory.
What a lot of people talk about is all about mentalism, and so some of you do like a lot of close-up mentalism. If you're at like a wedding and there's like a loud jazz band playing during the drinks reception, or at a meal, just where it's more of a loud sort of environment, what sort of things do you do to kind of get away from people not really being able to hear what you're saying?
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing is I don't take many bookings where they haven't seen the type of stuff I perform if it's at a wedding fair or something. So they're very aware that it's not, well, there's a flower that's appearing in a flash of flame and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's also in my contract. I say that, look, obviously people need to hear what I'm saying, and I'd never cancel a contract or anything like that. Then it's trying to find a space away from, I mean, I was at a mate's wedding a few months ago where I was performing, and they had a male voice choir there, which were brilliant. But they were 20 blokes. It was raining, so everybody was indoors. But there was a little bar area where I managed to find. And if all else fails, I just speak loudly, or just to perform to a few people around the corner of a table. I don't have any particularly visual stuff. Yeah, they absolutely need to hear what I'm saying. So it's a case of get away from the sound if possible, perform into smaller groups. Normally, I often find that most wedding venues have two bits. It tends to be a bar and a function room. So if that means that, like, I'll just be out in the bar area performing. I draw the line in the toilets. I wouldn't start performing. But even if it's like outside to the smokers, perhaps that's always always an option as well. But
I did that during the summer. It was a pain. It was a company party. I was in a marquee outside, and they had a band in there, and even the guests were complaining that the band was too loud. But it was like raining, not raining. So sometimes people are outside, but like people couldn't hear themselves having a conversation, let alone someone doing magic stuff. And I was after picking up Trifecta. I was so excited to do the birthday trick from Trifecta, and I was like, didn't do it once because I was just like, I'm just going to have to do the most visual stuff that I have here. So I was like, ran back to my car, opened up my close-up case, and was like, Mentalism in, flashing magic out, redo it. Because if it can be very tough when you're in that sort of situation, where people just like I could hear them down the road, like, let alone at the venue.
I've been quite lucky. I haven't had a situation where I've been drowned out, but it's like, as a magician, I've never owned double cross. I've never owned an omni deck. I've never owned sponge balls. Like, obviously, I started doing card magic and stuff, but so yeah, I don't have anything to fall back on. So it's literally just try and find the most quiet bit.
Yeah, my goal is a mentalism routine, like a strong mentalism routine with sponge balls. And I'm like, I have no idea what it's going to be, but like, it's. I sit there sometimes being like, that's to be a way I can use these in like some sort of mentalism.
That conversation started at the lads' convention fucking years ago, and there's still no routine, Dave. Give it up.
There's going to be one. It's like just get 4 different color ones, just do an equivoque, and it was the yellow ball.
That's what we need. Talking to conventions, there's a big one coming up in Ireland soon, isn't there? The
Midwest Magic Convention. It's on next weekend. Yeah, so not the one coming, but the one. Yeah, so the 18th and 19th. So yeah, that's
my friend of mine, Jamie Williams. He's lecturing. There.
Cool.
Yeah, on general magic, and he's trying. I think some of the guys have flown over. I think they worked out it's cheaper, like, to go over there than it is to get to Blackpool from South Wales.
Yeah, because like Shannon Airport's really close to it, and like if you can get Ryanair flights, or even just flying to Dublin, it can be fine, because it's like where I'm in Cork, it's mainly Aer Lingus, so it's a bit more expensive to fly. But if you can get the like Ryanair from Ireland to the UK, it's like it's nothing. It's it can be, even like when I went, it was over with Nottingham for the thing. It was I flew from Dublin, and like the flights are really cheap, but the problem was it was like 7:30 in the morning, and it was cheap. The airport's 2.5 hours away, so that was great fun. But it's it's like it can be cheaper than the train sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I just booked my I'm not going next week. I got the phone, but I just booked my Blackpool ticket for next year, so I'm looking forward to that. It's been quite a few years since I've gone, and I've got to the stage now where it's like people you know in magic just virtually. You've never actually met in person, so it'd be really cool to catch up with people. And it's a bit weird when you don't know. Like, I know last year they had quite a big mentalism. I know, like, all of the Baccarat Magic team were there last year, but I don't know who's going to be. I don't think they've announced any mentalists so far this year.
There's going to be a big Saturday morning. I saw a post, so could be an.
Sorry.
There's going to be a big announcement on Saturday morning this week.
Oh, really?
I don't know who it's going to be. Big announcement, apparently.
No, it'll be good anyway, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're going to Blackpool as well. Like, we've got our tickets. I need to book flights though. I need to get that done, because I went last year. It was my first time going. Steve didn't go, stood me up. So I had to go by myself. And then every time I walk up to someone, they're like, "Oh, hey, where's Steve?" And I was like, "He's not here, but I am."
Yeah, I have a 2-year-old son, so yeah, that my my commitments. That's all good. Well, a good piece of visual mentalism I actually saw the other day was Super Lemon. Have you seen that opener with Super Lemon?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's cool. I thought that's pretty clever.
Yeah. Again, it's parlor. I'm saying to Dave briefly beforehand, like, I need to get out of my comfort zone and put a parlor thing together, because I'm sure I could do all my close-up stuff on the table and perhaps one routine to everybody. So I think
it's a great opener routine where you're because it is that kind of play to the audience thing where, like, everyone's going to salivate, because they lemon at the same time, and now you can ramp it up. I think you could use that if you're a hypnotist. You could use that if you're, doing a whole method about like influence or whatever. I just saw the trailer, but I was like, that's pretty cool. I don't know what I use it myself, but I thought it was a pretty clever trick.
I think it's a good bit of fun because I find with for me, like close up, I obviously do a mix of mentalism and magic, but then on stage, I'm just like, why would I do any magic? I'm just going to do mentalism. I'm like, magic for me, I always just think is better close up. And then on stage, I'm like, and then it's like what I do. So the sneak thief, so I can do that. I can do even like one of the routines that I always have ready, and every magician has this ready. If you're stuck and someone says, "Can you do 5 minutes on stage?" All you need, it's in Mark Paul's lectures. I can't remember. It's one of his penguin ones, but it's basically a 5-card reveal. You get 5 people up on stage, they each have a card, and you reveal each person's card. And it's kind of like there's 2 red cards and 3 black cards. If you have red cards, step forward, and you're filling a stage. Or like I've done it at weddings on the dance floor, or I was doing a corporate Christmas. A hotel had booked out, sold tables, different companies at a Christmas time, and they asked me if I'd just do one thing on stage beforehand, and I was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, 5 playing cards, just go through it, and like you're filling the dance floor because you have 5 people on the line, then you've 3 people and 2 people, then you've 1 and 3, and Joe, like you're filling the space as people are stepping forward and stepping back and going back to their seats and that sort of stuff. And it's just a deck of, like it's just like you just getting people to think of 5 playing cards, revealing them, and getting the whole thing done. And it's just one of those things that it's always that thing of like, oh, do you have something that you could just pull out on stage if you needed to? Like,
couldn't you easily do like an oddball routine with just like 4 red cards and 1 black one?
I did that before actually. Just using a marked deck. That's great. It was like, okay, let's go with that.
There you go.
I think even invisible deck, where like we mentioned him so often, I think it is a Mark Paul idea where you ask all of the audience to think of a card, and then you have call one person up and say, brilliant, you're going to act as for a corporate to this ideal, you're going to act as the boss, and we're going to fire people, so you can fire all the men, all the women, or everyone over a certain age. And so everyone starts off standing, they're firing groups of people, and maybe even they're saying out the name of their cards, they've been eliminated. You're left with one person. What's your card? And what do you know upside down in this cards? Yeah, it's so much. Yeah,
so powerful.
Yeah, plays so big.
Or even tossed out deck. A lot of people kind of like tossed out deck, or it's so strong though, so strong.
Yeah, I was workshopping, so I've got a Murphy's thing which is being worked on, and so we're looking to build out the ideas. And yeah, there's a tossed out deck approach built into it, and it's not a deck of cards, but I think anything you can force from, where you've got a force bank or something, then you can absolutely do it. More people involved, it plays massive.
Colin Cloud released his one with the pen pad that he does it on all the corporate show stuff. He released that during the pandemic when he had his site up and stuff like that, which is really cool. I always have that now just in my case because I'm like, that's an easy 10-15 minutes that I can just pull out, and it's like it fits in my pocket. Those simple things. It's always about have those little things on you that you can just pull out. But that's where I like doing body magic in a sort of pseudo hypnotic fashion. So you can take someone's strength away or give it back to them, and they'll fall over or stand up. And it's literally on Scam School about these bands that people were saying, magnetic bands that people were saying that was a scam. But you can just do that, and I just look at me, and your strength is gone, and now you fall over, and now you don't fall over, and now you're really strong. And oh, look, here's some no tear paper. Ta-da, routine done. And it's just that sort of thing that just having that ability. But yeah, you should definitely go do a parlor show. That would be the
100%.
For the pseudo hypnosis stuff, would you ever do stuff where it's kind of like almost like an instant stooge, where, or do you always have a physical method for your pseudo hypnosis?
The only ones I've done that have had like the instant stooge would be things like Emotional Intelligence by Luke Germain, where you're doing spectators and mind reader type stuff, where that's kind of. But I've had people go, oh, but like you were just telling me what it is. Like, yeah, because you can't read minds. I can. Like I literally just flooded that bluntly. And then I was I've used Inception a few times, or like the Bone Conductors for spectators and mind reader with a pseudo hypnotic sort of presentation. But I always do like kind of having the person on stage or the person involved in the pseudo hypnotic get at least some level of a
There's no reason why you couldn't use Inception up close up.
Yeah, 100% you could.
You know,
Yeah,
bit of presentation kind of stuff with it, but like you don't want to just fire it out. You'd want to build a bit of rapport with the group. But I mean, it would play just as good close up, I would imagine, as it would.
100%. And it's one that I think it was expensive enough, so I really should use it more than I do. I've used it 3 or 4 times now, but like I've used it to make someone think they were hearing like someone else's dead grandmother talk to themselves. But you can do a lot with it. It's a great tool.
What about a dead grandmother? I had to change. So I used to do a routine, and I was performing at a wedding of somebody I went to school with, and performing to some of the guests. And I said, right, so I wanted to write down somebody's name, but not some news year today, so it's not obvious. And she decided to write down the name of one of the other girls who was watching, his father who passed away. So, and I didn't even know this. So I'm like, brilliant, reveal the name. Girl gets really upset, but she was happy, emotional. And I was like, yeah, I'm changing now. I'm going school teacher's name or favorite color or something like that. Like I don't want the bride and groom to see me look over and see me making people cry. I'm like, that's just. But it does hit home, I suppose, the kind of emotions that you're playing with.
I think it happened. It happened to me something similar too, and I had to go. I knew the groom, so I had to go over and go. Look, I made your aunt cry, but I'm sorry about it. It's good. I should find it. But he was like, oh, she's always like that. Don't worry about it. But when I think they write down a name sometimes like that because they don't think you're going to get it, and then when you do get it, there's the added shock of you getting it, and then the emotion. And then I think that's when it's like twice as strong, So yeah, it can have pros and cons. Though I totally agree.
Yeah, it can really hit hard because I was in that one where I did a show that was called "Am I Psychic?" and then it's like at the end of the show, it's that we opened the show with the question, "Am I psychic?" The answer is no, but I'm going to leave everyone with a more interesting question: is if I said I was, would you believed me? It was like that was how I closed the show, and right before that, I'd done a during the intermission, I'd everyone write down either a celebrity or someone they knew who'd passed away, and maybe a question they'd like to hear from them or something like that, and then fold it up and put it into this white little box with a little tab with a little red tape, just like a white little cardboard box thing.
Sounds like a really normal and not odd at all.
It was an amazing box. Anyway, so it was sitting there. So then they did it, and there was different color things. So the ones that came out with my forces, and one was a celebrity, and one was supposedly someone from the audience, is relative. So then I had 2 people thinking of those people, and I revealed the celebrity name. And it's even this thing of like pretending to talk to the dead felt so disgusting to do, even though it was like something I'd written myself. I wrote it. I picked it up. And then I had the person on stage do it and use the Inception thing for them to get the message. And they just started writing mad stuff on it. But it was that thing of like, I felt so disgusting doing it with like 2 fake pieces of information. I don't know how people who actually do it as like fake mediums can like stomach it. Because I was like, I felt so shitty after doing it that I was just like, this is weird.
You made up a fake ghost story pretty much, and then read it. And their reaction, but but that's because there's morals, and a lot of fake psychics and these psychics, whatever, they don't have any morals. They're just con men, and that's it.
Yeah. I do wonder. I mean, maybe they think that they're offering some sort of solace to these people, but then, Jimmy, I wonder if that's how they justify it. Because I mean, surely they can't believe what they're doing is real. Like they've got to know they're chucking stuff out,
especially the good ones. The bad ones might think it's something that they've learned and that's why they're bad at it. But the ones who are really good, like they've got earpieces and stuff, they know what to do. But it's the whole thing of like, oh, I'm helping people get closure. But I'm like,
for money.
For a lovely profit. We've just gone over the hour mark. We have a segment on this show where we ask our guests to tell us a story. The segment is called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. So maybe about a performance that might have started off good and then went downhill as we talked about other misses and things going wrong before.
Yeah, so it might not quite fit this template, but I do like this story. So relatively early on, I was at a wedding and I was doing drawing, just a basic presentation for a drawing duplication. And I performed this, and they were quite drunk, and I performed to one person and obviously got it right, and somebody else watching went, oh my god, can I have a go? And I thought they meant, can I ever go be in the mind reader? It turns out they didn't. They just wanted their mind read. They were like, can I ever go? And I was like, yeah, go on then. So I passed him a stack of billets and a pen. And I went, right, I'm going to think of something. And in my head, I'm thinking, he's going to get it wrong. And I'll just say, see, this is how hard it is. Let me show you what I meant. But I thought, let's channel my inner banner check here. And I was like, I'll give you one clue. I said, I'm not going to think of something living. So I draw the house. And he goes away, and honestly, he takes ages. He's resting on the bar, and he's looking like this. And in the meantime, when photographers come up, and he's really considering. And so he comes back, he does his drawing, and I've got mine on my hand. And he turns his over, and he's done a house. And I swear to God, I turned mine over, and the photographer got a photo of my shoulder. This guy jumps in the air. It's the best promo photo I've ever got. And I was fully happy just to like wipe it away. Yeah, see that's why it's difficult. And yeah, he said, I only wanted you to read my mind. I didn't realize how did you manage to put. And I'm like, well, I can't top that. I just had to go and perform to a different group then. But yeah, that was.
You just go home at that stage.
Just go home. Yeah.
Yeah. It's never happened again. I've never had the guts to challenge somebody to read my mind. Well, I suppose spectators' mind reader routines are kind of like that, aren't they? But yeah, never as directly as that. But yeah. Maybe it'll hit more often than not. Maybe it's something I should do. Before I do it, let's see. No, but then I suppose if you're saying they can do it, then they're not going to be that impressed when you do it, perhaps. So maybe it's not something to do.
Well, you consider your line going well. That's because I'm the mind reader, or whatever. Still go back to that, but all as a joke. It doesn't hit.
So this is the way you get hit every time. So I'm going to think of one of these 100 images that I have on my phone. I'm not going to tell you which one. Now, name a number between 1 and 100, and that's what you think that I drew.
Yeah, there you go.
And the most recent, it makes me cringe. The most recent I was practicing. So as one of my new tricks, and I use is like a stack printed deck, and it's not cards, it's something else. And so I was like, right, do you know what? At the residency, I thought, right, I'm going to work one of the routines in. First person, hand out the cards, they take a card, and I go through the whole process, and it just dies on its ass. It absolutely fails. I was like, that's interesting. So what did you pick? Just to protect myself, I printed an extra card as a crib, so I wouldn't forget stuff. And I'd forgotten to take it out, and it was the one card out of the 40 odd. And she was a little bit drunk. She's like, I don't really know what. It's just got all words written on it. And I was like, that's from a different effect. I'm sorry. But, I just dropped that trick the rest. I just couldn't bring myself to perform it the rest of the night. It was like, there's 40 odd cards here, and she just happened to pull the one that had just a list of words down the middle, which was my crib. But luckily she didn't realise where that.
When a trick like that goes wrong, you do drop it for the night. Because I remember I got the nest of wallets. I love the nest of wallets. Do it all the time. First time I tried it, the ring, as you're opening it, the tongue of the first wallet caught the ring and flew it underneath the table, and it was an engagement ring, so I had to go get. And I didn't bring it back out for about 3-4 months, and I was just like, no, that's done. That's done now. I'm finished.
Yeah. It's like you said earlier with Sharpies, like my bride and groom set. I was like, there's no way I'm handing the bride a pen. Let's find enough routines to. Yeah, I don't want any claims on insurance or anything. And yeah, people who do ring flights and stuff like that. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, they got bigger balls than me. Yes. The repercussions are.
I couldn't put a ring on a reel, and I put it into a wallet that I know is like padded and nice and safe, and I will make sure I do not allow it to fly out. But I was like, to have a ring on a reel and just let it fling. I was like, no, I'm good, thanks. Not for me.
A reel that's like made in China for like 4 pence. Like it costs £100, but they're made for like a cent.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's not for me. I don't want to risk other people's stuff. I'm just like, I'm not having it.
Saying that, I have used reels numerous times.
You use somebody else's hand for smash and stab, so you'll do whatever. I'm just like, no.
Yeah.
They'd be grand. They've got 2 hands.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's never gone wrong. Done it 100 plus times, or no, way more than 100. But yeah, it's never gone wrong.
It's only gone wrong 50, so.
Yeah.
I got 2 hands. Yeah.
Hands, and I've nearly paid off all the insurance claims.
100%. It's the only way to do it. But yeah, thanks for sharing that story with Rich. And for people who want to keep an eye on your stuff and maybe some of the new stuff you've got coming out and stuff, where's the best place for them to reach out to you or keep an eye on your stuff?
Yeah, I'm active on Facebook and Instagram. I don't put it, like I said earlier, I don't put a lot of videos up there. It's mainly just like some still photos from events or some stuff that's up and coming. So yeah, and like Rich Relish. So many people think that's my real name. It's not. My last name is Gerish. My teacher when I was 8 said one passing comment, that sounds a bit like Relish. I'm 43 now, it's been my nickname for 35 years. So it's mad. And then when I was going to perform, I thought, it alliterates. So this is a bit unusual. So yeah,
none of our last names are real.
No, it's all an illusion.
We're all in the witness protection program. That's what's going on. We don't want people to know.
Well, if you've got the opportunity to come up with a name, then why not? And then I suppose.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, some of my initials are now DP though, so I put that in a hoodie and I didn't realize it until my friend started pointing it out to me.
My old spade thing happened because I used to wear like spade t-shirts or I had like a spade ring because I really like Paul Zennon years ago and stuff like that. And then like doing gigs just like nightclubs and stuff. This girl was like, "Oh, you're covered in spades. You should just call yourself Spade." And I was like, And then it just stuck. It stuck like hot glue. Like I can't get rid of it, so I have to embrace
it. There's no other Steve Spades, is there, that you're aware of?
Don't think so.
There's a David Spade, but that's about it.
David Spade, yeah. There probably is a Steve Spade somewhere, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a podcast or is a magician. Hockey player. I found a hockey player once in Canada. So
there's an author called David Peace who is kicking my ass on SEO.
You need to write a book.
I'm trying to do because that's what I'm thinking. Like I've got my first like magic release out there, and now I need to get my first magic book out there, so then we can both be authors and be like, ha.
Are you allowed to do that? Is it like like actors are not allowed to have the same name? Are two people allowed to put books out if they got the same? I imagine they can.
I'm not sure. There must be something going there, but it'll be hilarious if all of his fans start buying like a mentalism book. And they're like, what the hell is this?
Like, just stuff is shit.
Yeah. I just find like what his book title's name, come up with something similar, and just release a mentalism book under that name.
Yeah. But yeah, there's nothing worse than like when it's hard not to like Google your own name when your product comes out and check reviews and stuff because you only release stuff when you know it works for you. So, and if a magic company has liked it, so typing the name is so like what's in doing that. I haven't seen anything come up. I doubt very much there's another Rich Relish. So I
think you're safe with that name. It's good.
Rich, I want to see you on your social media that you're doing a parlor show or an MC or something. I want to see you on stage.
I've done. Yes. I've done the wedding MC bit, so I've done that. So I've dipped my toe. That's Paul Martin's course, which is great. I recommend that. I need to do it, but it's very easy not to, isn't it? It's very easy just to keep doing the stuff.
We need to get a look. Craig Petty's new documentary series will be you.
The name and place routine. I mean, that's a close-up routine or a stage routine. And that's powerful. Super powerful.
There's loads, and I'm a massive book buyer, and it's like there's loads of stuff that I've got that would play.
It's cutting it back is the hard bit. Like everyone has loads of material. Like that's what we're working on. Like Steve's new tour at the moment, and it's like we've too much stuff. And it's like, but we want to do this, but like we can't keep people for 4 hours. We gotta stop somewhere.
And the show will be like a whole day. Come in at 8. 5ish.
Bring a pack lunch.
Yeah. Some sick tablets and some sick bags. So, So
I know you were like planning to club, but just to ask, how important is for you when you put a show in that is a thread rather than just a series of tricks? Do you think like when starting out, could I get away with that starting out just by like use 6 or 7 different effects one after another?
My first show was just a series of effects, and like a lot of my shows kind of have that. Like I might have a callback at the end, which are like the classic or predict the whole show, or something like that. But I think if you have something where it's like you have an envelope on stage at the beginning that you point out, and then you come back to that at the end, and it can just be that because it's like when you're in close up, it doesn't really have the thread. It's kind of like the thread is these are my abilities, and that's kind of like the way I see it. Because like my first show, if I think through like what was in it, it opened with like a sort of like a Darren Brown, Max Maven, people are holding something in their hands. I have magnetic abilities and figure out which one has the right thing. And in like a truth lie thing, there was a bank night in there. I had a Q&A. I ended with something that works really well over here, but it doesn't seem to work anywhere else. But all of our phone numbers for mobiles are like 08, 085, 086, 087. I think there's 083 now, but mine's an 086. So if you turn 086 upside down, it's 980. So that was my prediction in the envelope, and I'd had a big added number thing, and the result was like 3,900,000 and something. And then I opened my prediction, it was like 980. You weren't even close. And then I turned that upside down, and it's 086, and then it's the rest of my phone number, and then my pull-up banner has been on stage with my phone number on it throughout the whole show. And then also, I'm ending my show with being like, if you enjoyed the show, that's my phone number. You can book me. I'm available.
Oh, that's a great idea.
So it's like my big reveal is how you can get in contact with me, which I was like,
So you can
yeah. It's literally on my website. Everyone can find it. That's why I get so many like right off all the time. But yeah, I think like something like that can work where it's that just a prediction. But I think the first time out, it's just about picking things that you know you're good at. And the one thing to look at it right is that like you don't want it to be where it's something we talked about with Nick Tan when he was on the podcast before about changing what the staging looks like a lot. And I think Darren talks about it in his book as well. But it's like that you don't want to have two routines back to back that have 4 people on stage or 2 people on stage, or if you do, maybe have them standing up for one and sitting down for the next one, or those sort of things that like visually when people, because mentalism isn't a visual art. So visually you just want things to look different. From a visual point of view, otherwise people get bored, which is something that like I was like doing it subconsciously, but then after that I was like, yeah, I need to like now it's like we literally wrote Steve's show out, and then we're like, crap, there's 2 things together, we need to move them around and that sort of stuff, and it's something to run
just to have less or more people on stage, or vice versa. But like things like Smash and Grab that we were mentioned there a while ago, or other kind of risk effects, they tie into the mentalism world. So you could do a whole kind of series of billet routines, even like an invisible deck, and then kind of something in the middle, a little bit more dangerous, a bit a bit risky, and then you could finish with like even like mother of all book tests or some big prediction thing at the end, and there's your set. It doesn't have to be.
I bought the staplers for the is it Francisco Tasai's Risk? So I even bought staplers to do stuff like that. They're in a cupboard somewhere. I'm like, I love the idea, and then. But here we go. This is my online commitment. By the end of 2024, there'll be some footage.
Black Blue Gala show. There we go.
Or at least the Ruskin. Bring all your stage stuff, and we'll do the show there.
Yeah, exactly. We'll grab a drink in the Ruskin actually in Blackpool in 2024 as well. So we'll see you there. And thanks again for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate it. And if everyone's liked it, please make sure you subscribe, there'll be other ones coming up, and we'll try to not have as many giant gaps in the stuff. But I have more reviews coming out as well on the channel for people to keep an eye on. So thanks again, Rich, for coming on, and Steve for taking the time out of your busy schedule of minding a 2-year-old to come on the podcast.
And setting up and everything else. Oh, man. I just want to
crazy. Thanks, everyone, guys. We'll see you again next time, and signing out. Thanks so much.
Thanks very much. Cheers. Bye-bye.